Let's see. So this is Superkick Studios, the WWE Renaissance Era. Seen a couple people reacting to it. Let's check it out. While I eat my cereal.
World Wrestling Entertainment in their years and years
Oh
of
my
existence has
God.
been defined by eras.
Yo,
Time frames in the company's history.
the nostalgia of that just hitting so fast, man. Take me back. Oh man, I can hear that. Don't even need to hear the audio. I can already hear that.
Where different stars defined their image.
King Booker
they crossed over into the mainstream, and they created moments which are still.
Was this a Chef Boyardee commercial? No, that wasn't it.
Each era has an accompanying cast of marquee attractions and reasons to exist. From 1997 to 2002 was the Attitude Era. Then came the Ruthless.
So these are the official eras that of the WWE. So the Golden Era. I was right. The Golden Era was around the 80s. New Generation, that was around the early 90s. Attitude was obviously late 90s, early 2000s. The Ruthless Aggression Era was right there around that time, from pretty much right after the slap. Cena to Kurt Angle. Yeah, Brock Lesnar was definitely, he kind of spearheaded that, being that prominent figure. But obviously, John Cena was the one that held it down. And then went into the PG era. I didn't even realize the whole Yeselmania, the WrestleMania 30, the Authority, that whole era was called the Reality Era. I didn't even realize that part. Maybe they don't have a name for it yet, but this new era, I don't really like that name. It's not as creative. They could have done better.
Aggression Era from 2002 to 2008. This was followed by the PG era. Then came the Reality Era, followed by the New Era. With each name that the company was given for their various time frames, it felt as though WWE, from a television standpoint, was growing more and more out of touch with their fan base. Yes, there was some good stuff here and there, but fans were just waiting for an improvement. But that turn in the right direction would just never come. The moments, the unpredictability, it was few and far
Oh my
between.
God, Goldberg
At the
winning
end
that
of the 2010s,
championship.
It felt like World Wrestling Entertainment was hell-bent on self-sabotage and alienating their fan base, lacking a structure, missing out on top talent, coasting by with their pay-per-views.
Oh my God, was that
failing to
Bobby
deliver
Lashley's sister?
fans the stars that they wanted at the top. Go back to 2018 or 2019 and it looked like the WWE was doomed to fail forever.
I'm not gonna lie to y'all. Around this time, NXT was the best brand. Am I wrong? NXT was, to me, I think NXT was better than Raw and SmackDown around this time.
In the 2020s, the WWE has finally found their way again. The company has gone through an overhaul from the top down, from new ownership and ideologies to pushing the new wave of superstars.
This is where I only tune into NXT? Oh, okay.
Nick Khan and Triple H, where fans are finally enjoying the WWE for the first time in a long time. The company's
Them
had a
Khans, bro, they got a
across multiple
endless
facets,
wallet.
from how the company is building up
Boy,
talent,
Jay.
a new vision for media, and even a complete overhaul of their developmental to fit into a grand scheme of an overall plan that seems to be clicking. After some really tough years for fans which were filled with frustration, bad television, and spite booking at times, the company has gone through a renaissance. By its literal definition, renaissance means rebirth, and a rebirth has happened within the WWE. And you may think the simple answer is Triple H taking over, but there's all these little pieces that make up a much bigger.
Hold on, y'all. Let me change this my screen real quick. We got to go with the Titantron, man. We talking about some of the greatest, some of the greatest periods in wrestling. So I gotta, you know, it's Attitude Era, Mike. So I gotta go ahead and have the jumbotron, like we watching Raw's War again.
Picture that finally has the company clicking. So let's rewind back. Immediately changed the company. By the following year, Peacock became the official home for the WWE's content library in the US. I'm
not gonna lie, I missed the WWE Network. To me, I think it was better kept than Peacock. I think Peacock tried to do a little bit too much. They have like the different rivalries, and it seems like it's a collection of content, but for me, it doesn't feel complete. I don't know. It feels like they took certain moments from the rivalry. It doesn't feel the same as when it was a WWE Network. Now, I'm hoping that once all of this goes over to Netflix, they'll kind of bring that back, but I don't prefer the Peacock. Like if it wasn't for the WWE, I wouldn't have Peacock. I would not have that. So that deal worked out for them, but I do miss having the WWE Network, and it's only in the US. I think other countries have the WWE app still, whereas we just have to resort to Peacock. But we gonna see though when it moves to Netflix how that's gonna change everything.
entered a multi-year agreement with NBC Universal and were able to settle on a $1 billion rights agreement.
That's crazy.
The company launched the WWE Network back in 2014 with hopes that it would seamlessly fit into the
For $9.99. Y'all remember that?
It hadn't exploded yet. Think the WWE's version of Netflix, a signature app that had content upon
and it was
content
pay-per-views, man.
This
Oh,
was
bro.
gonna be big time, and for some time it was. But as time went on,
Yo, what's good, Jolly?
those subscriptions started to flatline and even drop. The company made the decision to sell those rights. Essentially, the thought was, where can we plop the WWE logo and have more fans see it? If they couldn't have people coming to them, then they'd go to them on a bigger platform. Nick Khan spearheaded that and was able to make the best of a downtrending situation, and it was his business savvy that helped get that deal done. But where the company has really changed since his hire is their pay-per-views. Go back to 2018 or 2019 and pick a pay-per-view, chances are you'll feel like you're watching a glorified version of Raw or SmackDown. Now the roster is the strongest that it's been in years.
Man, Backlash was... That was the one. That was the one. That was the one. That's still my favorite pay-per-view of last year. And the craziest thing is Backlash is one of those in-between pay-per-views. Now, Money in the Bank wasn't bad. I'm not gonna lie. LA Knight, fire hot. Like, I'm talking about white hot going into Money in the Bank. SummerSlam wasn't bad, but with it being one of the big four, you kind of expected more. And then, of course, to have the Jimmy J ending to the Roman J championship match, it was like, all right, we've seen this 1,000 times. Could we do something different? But it wasn't bad. I think another thing that was kind of really, I guess, underwhelming was, I believe that's when Shayna Baszler went up against Ronda Rousey, and I don't think they fully explained how that match was supposed to be, or what the match was supposed to be, if I remember correctly. Because I do remember that was when I went to Collision, came back, and then we started streaming SummerSlam after it went off. So we were up to like 3, 4 in the morning. I'll probably never do that again. I remember saying the pay-per-views had that feeling of this is special again. Because back in the day, it used to feel where you would watch a pay-per-view, it felt different than Monday Night Raw. It felt different than SmackDown. It felt different than Sunday Night Heat. It felt different than everything else. I don't know what it was about a pay-per-view, but they were able to capture like a moment that felt just bigger than regular TV. I feel like Backlash definitely delivered that, man. Especially Bad Bunny, man. You got to clap it up for Bad Bunny, bro. Bad Bunny is fun. I will always say this. When it comes to celebrities coming into the WWE that's coming in as talent, he changed the game and opened the door for people like Logan Paul. Logan Paul obviously is he's more talented and more athletic, but Bad Bunny set the standard, because you don't just have people who are famous coming in now and just doing like small segments or whatever. Like, if you coming in as a competitor in the ring, you actually have to bring it. And I got to give that credit to Bad Bunny. I was there, WrestleMania 37.
And the company is putting on some huge cards, but they do it in bigger venues and different markets. Going back a few years,
yo, Hold on 1 second, man. My bad. I ain't even have it up right. Oh, let's go with Mr. Burn It Down. There we go.
Jolly Rancher 36 just cashed in
for the 4 months. I just realized that. Appreciate you, bro.
International PLEs could run.
Appreciate you, man, for the 4 months, bro. Absolutely.
Thank you. There's more of those which give it a grander feel, and that goes hand in hand with what I mentioned earlier. The biggest change has actually come with WrestleMania. The grand feeling that came with WrestleMania has finally been restored for the past couple years, and why it's working is the 2-night structure that the show now has.
Going to 2 nights was a good call.
Go back to those shows in 2017, 18, 19.
Jesus.
Close to the 5-hour mark.
Fam, we were watching wrestling. I remember, which one was it? Yep, Kofi Mania. I remember, because I'm not going to lie, that was probably one of the first WrestleManias where I've started to feel fatigue. Like, legitimately started to feel fatigue for watching something for so long. Because you got the highs and the lows from the matches, like rooting for people, reacting to certain things. I do remember around this time, I want to say after Kofi won the title, I did start to get fatigued.
All of them in terms of runtime.
I think this is when the New Day brought Jeff Hardy back.
The biggest shows in the world at times felt like a chore to watch, and it lost its sparkle. Instead of being a showcase of the best storylines and matches, it became this 5+ hour marathon where the company crammed as much as they could onto one show. So you'd usually get lukewarm critical reviews once these shows were done. Since Khan came in, WrestleMania has expanded to a 2-night format.
That's so smart to do. You make it a whole weekend,
which allows for more breathing room, makes the show much more digestible, and also gives the company the ability to space out their big matches.
And let's be honest, it gives them a whole nother night to where they can monetize fans, they can monetize being or having like access, they can monetize merch, they can monetize like selling, instead of selling one seat for a certain price for WrestleMania, you could sell that same seat twice. Like that, I'm pretty sure going to 2 nights, number one, I don't know whose idea, or I don't know why it took them so long to think about going to like multiple nights, because there's so much more to just make it a weekend. You got SmackDown, the Hall of Fame, then you got WrestleMania Night 1, WrestleMania Night 2, and then you got Monday Night Raw. That's a whole weekend. And I'm not gonna lie, if you haven't been to one of the 2-night WrestleManias, is definitely worth it. Should be something on your bucket list if you're a wrestling fan.
It was a change that at first seemed odd, but now seems reasonable that it happened. This change has led to more ticket sales, partnerships, and big-time matches. The rejigging of what and where a pay-per-view should be since 2021 is what's worked, and that falls under Khan, who is a key piece in WWE exploring these different markets. Also,
the Bloodline storyline
doesn't seem to be a thing anymore.
Peak cinema, backlit, bro.
Just for the sake of doing it. You don't need a TLC in December to fill a spot.
Puerto Rico was on one, bro.
End off your schedule in November, then
Mania should be a whole week. It feels like it sometimes.
January, which fans will be hungry for, no doubt. SummerSlam went from arenas to stadiums. The WWE started to do more international shows, and all that came under the eye of Nick Khan.
Shout out to the overseas, the international crowds, man. They make the show. I tell y'all all the time, if you go to a wrestling show, you are a part of the show. The louder you are, the better it looks, but also the better the talent reacts to your reactions. So you get them hype. You have a say so when it comes to these matches, because if you don't respond or if you don't react, they may not necessarily be as invested. You have some people who are going to be professionals regardless, but sometimes the match itself, the moment itself, like prime example, what we just saw, Sami Zayn hitting Roman Reigns in the back without a crowd reaction, it doesn't hit as hard. Because when he hit Roman, y'all know how deafening that crowd was when he finally said, "I can't take this no more," and he hit Roman in the back. Imagine that without crowd participation. It just don't hit the same.
That hire in 2020, though simple for most fans, has had an unseen effect on the WWE. Music
Is that Hogan? Oh my God.
WWE launched WrestleMania and get to new heights. But there was a point where it felt
Pee
like
Wee
the
Herman. Oh my
WWE
God.
was trying their absolute hardest to hold on to that relationship
Oh my
with the
God.
mainstream. Problem being, there was a
Oh
huge
my
disconnect
God.
between what they thought worked and
Is that Lonzo Ball and what is their dad's name? I forgot, man. He made just a mockery of himself and his kid's career, man. Oh my God. Who let him in front of? He's a prime example of like people trying to live vicariously through their kids. He should have never been on the screen. He should LeVar Ball. Oh my God. He should have never been on the screen, bro. He had 3 boys who could have done numbers in the league. But I feel like a lot of his like antics stifled them. And he put so much pressure on Lonzo for him to be the next great Laker. And then next thing you know, he's not even in LA anymore.
He brought in stars like Snooki, Jerry Springer, and Kevin Federline to continue to show that they were still relevant.
Jerry Springer with the Bellas. Oh my God.
Have a cast
this was a cringe fest.
Celebrity guest host to maintain that relationship so very desperately. Sometimes it was good, most times it was bad, and sometimes it was flat out cringe-inducing. But those celebrities didn't really do much for the WWE in the
Not at all.
scheme of things. What's a one-off appearance really going to add, aside from your hardcore fans rolling their eyes at some very forced segment? Now this is a model that the company has ironed out. They finally figured
Booker
out
T.
how to incorporate names from the outside. Whereas before the goal was, let's just bring in these guys and use them in a segment for a bit, maybe force them to wrestle even though
Brought
they
out
have
Shaq.
no intention to and they don't really care. Now they have them seamlessly fit into the company.
This was
At
the one.
top of this
I
is
told y'all.
Logan
I
Paul,
told
one of the
y'all.
biggest names
Bad
in
Bunny,
combat
man.
sports and multimedia. With him, he brings a reach of millions. His addition to the company seemed pretty harmless on the surface.
I'm gonna be honest with y'all, man. Logan Paul is a cheat code for the WWE. Logan Paul is an absolute cheat code. Who knew this dude was gonna be able to seamlessly just fall into the life of being a WWE superstar? Now, let's be honest, he still got his promos he got to work on, but that's one aspect. Number one, the guy is already uber athletic. He rivals Ricochet. Now, Ricochet is obviously better, but he can go up against Ricochet and it looks good. Number two, this dude already has a platform of him being YouTube famous, him being a content creator. He already got the youth on lock. He has a whole subsection of the internet that him and his brother, let's be honest. And then number three, man, he is a businessman. This fool literally got, I don't remember seeing a logo in a WWE ring like that. Maybe, I can't remember if they did it for the Pitch Black match for Mountain Dew, but he is an active roster member and he has his logo on WWE on the mat, which is prime real estate, if you ask me. Don't know how they got the deal done, but Logan Paul is going to do some numbers for WWE, and I'm glad that he's going to be more in a full-time wrestling capacity. But I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, Logan Paul is he's a cheat code for the WWE. Like, absolutely.
But you
said you like Logan? He didn't scam you? Are you talking about that whole NFT thing?
Don't follow the company, but follow what Paul is doing, even if they're just hate watching the guy. The biggest tool he's got is his online reach and the
what I just say?
market.
What did I
look
just
at
say?
How many views his Impulsive podcast gets? It's these crossovers that are working and helping people like Seth Rollins be seen by those who wouldn't know who the guy is.
Because he had Seth on there, he had Ray on there, he had Roman on there, he had Edge. He got Edge before he went to AEW. I'm trying to think who else he has from WWE. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he is literally giving a platform to other superstars. And also, I think in this era that we live in with social media, Triple H, Triple H, it helps when you have somebody who has a bigger online presence to other people outside of the wrestling community. And now you're putting these superstars in front of them to where they might have thought all wrestlers is corny, but now they get a chance to talk to these people and get to peek behind the curtain, which will give them a little bit more of relatability, which makes it easier for them to transition into maybe watching a pay-per-view. Then they might go from a pay-per-view to watching maybe Monday Night Raw or whatever show that person is on to possibly becoming a fan. And then the more they see stuff like this coming from The Rock, the raw, gritty stuff, the profanity, the adult attitude era type of like stuff that's coming from The Rock, man, it's only a matter of time before the resurgence comes back to rival the Attitude Era. If we can get what they're doing with The Rock and have that go across the board, Seth did it a little bit with Matt Riddle. I think I told y'all about that. He was like, you want to talk about my family? Let's talk about your family. That little segment, I'm not going to lie, they got me hyped. And I know I heard a lot of other people outside of the wrestling community talking about like, yeah, I heard it. You know, he called him a bitch and he was talking about his family and this, that, and his work, and his wife left him. Like, it was all kinds of stuff. You gotta use that element, man. Be more adult. And I feel like Logan Paul is going to help open those doors, like I said, to other people outside of the wrestling community.
And it's going both
because his podcast does
WWE
numbers.
Gets eyes on them because people want to see what Paul's doing, and by working with him, guys like Cody and Seth are being put into this mainstream avenue. Where
exactly.
They get more exposure than they normally would have because of the built-in fan base that he has.
Hearing non-fans talk about wrestling now validates my fandom.
Yeah, the wrestler that was on Logan Paul's podcast.
I'm telling you, man.
It helps them get those names out constantly and not just for a one-off. What's an added bonus is Paul is a natural athlete and he's come into the WWE and made big-time waves. The believability factor is there because he can go in the ring.
I agree that he should be a champion.
Attraction where he only wrestles at the biggest shows 2 or 3 times a year, and he's been great for the WWE. Instead of an ever-revolving door of people that serve a single-time purpose and that WWE fans couldn't care about.
Wait, what's it say? Google searches echoed that as 300,000 would have been the highest, and 200,000 of those were for Paul. So he was clearly the key to swelling of the numbers, And with while maybe the gig is up with the brothers as far as extensive pay-per-view shows, the concept of Logan going for the title in a low-cost show, it was a big success. That's the thing, man. Like you're trying to play the internet game, and to have a key piece like Logan Paul, you're gonna win. 200,000 of 300,000 Google searches were because of him. That's a W in my opinion.
Anyways, they finally figured it out. Same thing goes for Bad Bunny, one of the most popular artists on the face of the planet.
I'm telling you, man, I was there. Raymond James Stadium, Tampa, Florida. I was there, bro.
These guys both wrestle and do well. And again, it goes both ways. Fans care. So do media outlets. How do you pique someone's interest who won't watch the WWE? Here's someone you may know. They're actually wrestling on our card, and they do it a few times.
Yep.
Opposed to here's a celebrity paraded out without any rhyme or reason, please put it on your website. Who are the ones that can land you on the big time publications? Who are the ones that can help make waves for it? Again, both
I gotta listen to Bad Bunny music.
Started appearing in
bro, that Chambea, like that song that he had for his entrance was fire.
Bringing in like Logan Paul and Bad Bunny into it, and just seeing like
even Bad Bunny's match at WrestleMania, I guess his first.
Yeah, with him and Damian Priest.
I guess 37.
Yep.
That I feel like people were starting to go, oh, Bad Bunny's part of this.
Yep.
Oh,
Yes,
I
man.
haven't watched wrestling in a long time, or I've never watched wrestling, but I like Bad Bunny, so now I got to start watching.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of eyeballs on what you guys are doing.
Like you said, more now than ever.
Overhaul seems to be the word of the video, and I'll continue
Oh
diving
my
into
God.
it with NXT, which was another necessary step that needed to happen in order for
Oh my God. Oh my God. Take me back. Take me back, man. Take me back. Oh no. Take me back to the black and gold era, man. No, I do not like this Nickelodeon 2.0 stuff they did, man.
one functioning.
Yes, I did add
The
that.
NXT brand has been around for over a decade, and what initially started as the company's replacement
What the
for
hell?
ECW Revival became a cult classic among fans who were jaded with the WWE's main roster. The focus on Raw and SmackDown was the big, jacked up dudes who were the textbook definition of wrestlers, and stories that felt like they changed course every minute. Meanwhile, on NXT, they had a different in-ring product.
Oh,
Product
yeah,
that
when
a lot
Finn
of
Balor
fans wanted
defected?
to see.
Oh,
They were
man, he
slower
turned on
with their
DIY.
storytelling. You had to look for those Easter eggs, and they kept rewarding you for following
Undisputed-
the product. The brand had their peak from 2015 to 2019, so you
Oh.
can imagine the outrage that came in 2021 when everything was stripped away and the super indie once again transitioned into becoming a farm system.
Oh my
The focus
God,
became
bro.
less on short-term gain and instead creating future stars that had the star power and athleticism. to
They bounced
become
back,
big
though.
names in
Tiffany
the
Stratton.
WWE. And early on, it was a tough watch.
Braun Breaker,
Nickelodeon
Melo,
NXT was
Trick
rough
Williams,
because they stripped it
Dragunov.
all down entirely. They wanted to do things their way, and looking back at it now, I mean, I said it back in 2021 too, but it's a step that needed to happen. The rebrand came out of left field, but it's since settled nicely. It has a nice blend of young wrestlers, some stars from the main roster, and the in-ring quality that fans loved back in the black and gold days. Again, another overhaul done.
I'm sorry, bro. I get what you're trying to say. Nah. Whatever they were doing for the black and gold era, literally, I don't understand why they tried to change that. Even if let's say, maybe it's the optics of it, right? They went a little too, I don't know, it was too colorful, too bright. It felt like the early to mid 90s. It was too colorful. It made me stop watching it. I really was like deep diving. And I think another thing that made me stop watching NXT was what they were doing with the talent when they brought them to the main roster. Because we know Keith Lee, Adam Cole, Arian Cross. That was one of the things where I'm like, okay, they're bringing people from the developmental into the main roster, and they're changing what's working or what worked. I don't understand why. NXT has really recovered now. The white and gold brand is great. It's definitely better. It's just hard to, and maybe this is where me just being stuck in the past is same thing maybe how I felt about the Attitude Era. It's not that I'm not giving none of these people a chance. Obviously, I love Tiffany Stratton. I'm glad she's doing what she's doing on the main roster, and they're doing her right. And they changed her for the better. They gave her better music, but she still has her same persona. She still is like the mean girl, and she's obviously talented in the ring. Them bringing her up, that was a great call. Braun Breaker finally coming to the main roster. That was a great call. But they didn't change anything. They didn't change their gimmick. But like, you want to change Keith Lee to Bearcat Lee when he was he was the craziest anomaly I've seen in wrestling. A big boy who could move like that. I know there have been some in the past. I know people like to say Vader, Bam Bam Bigelow. Ain't nobody doing a roundhouse like Keith Lee, bro. Moonsaults. Like the dude he looked like he defied gravity, literally. Because he wasn't supposed to be doing none of those moves. But I don't know, man. I don't know. Black and Gold NXT was just different. We made it halfway through the video, guys, and I wanted to give a shout out to all of my Trysun Tribe members. If you were enjoying this video so far, hit the like button, man. Appreciate everybody watching this, everybody monetarily supporting the channel. If you want to join the tribe, man, just hit the join button on the channel page, and it'll give you more details on the 3 tiers that we have. With that being said, let's get back to the video.
Done by Triple H and Nick Khan.
What we want to make sure is easy for folks who want to be WWE superstars is figuring out how to become WWE superstars. So if you think of the life of an elevated athlete throughout their career, the opportunity to go play somewhere has always been easy. Being able to play somewhere is not. That's what's hard. But if you're an amazing high school football player, colleges come after you, you get recruited, you go into their system, and either you make it or you don't make it. Again, all that it takes to get there, very difficult. But the system, not difficult from my point of view. So we want our system to be an easy system where people who want to be superstars, they know how to get to us and we can get to them. We don't want to just keep doing that same thing. We want to look elsewhere for great young talent.
If you streamline your developmental, if you make it simple, it works. A key branch off from what he said is the WWE Next in Line program, where the company recruits athletes and gives them the option of becoming WWE superstars. So you could potentially have the next Brock Lesnar on your hands. And when looking at NXT, 2 of the big stars of the future are Braun Breaker, who came in from football, and Tiffany Stratton, who came in from a gymnastics background. Both completely molded by...
No wonder she got the prettiest moonsault ever.
Both wrestlers who look like pillars of the future. They came in with no wrestling training. They were built from the...
That's how Bianca was, too.
Given time to find their way, display their athleticism, fail, figure out what works, what doesn't, and all the subtle nuances. That wouldn't have worked with the Black and Gold audience. They wanted the big veteran signings from ROH or New Japan. With AEW becoming...
I don't agree with that.
For a lot of those
I don't agree with that. I don't know if I agree with that, because I understand his point, because obviously Adam Cole, they came from either New Japan, ROH. I understand that point, but I don't agree, because Bianca Belair, she was in track and field before she got to the WWE. She didn't have any prior wrestling experience from what I remember, because I think I saw an interview or I saw something about her. She didn't have any, because she went to she's from Tennessee, so I think she went to Tennessee. The college in Tennessee, I can't remember. I don't know if it was Tennessee State. I can't remember which one it was, but she was in track and field. She was a college athlete, and then she got into wrestling. Obviously, seamless. That was a seamless transition. I think Rhea Ripley, I don't remember Rhea being on, I can't remember if she was on the Indies or not. I can't remember. But I don't agree with the Black and Gold audience wouldn't have liked when it, like, obviously, you know, you got the Adam Coles, you got who else? You had the Adam Coles, you had who else came from like another promotion? I think, damn, I can't remember right now. But I don't agree that they wouldn't have called on, because I think Velveteen Dream, I know his name is not one that everybody, he didn't get convicted, y'all. He didn't get convicted or charged with anything. But the Velveteen Dream is another one where I think he was in Tough Enough and he didn't make it, but then he ended up getting signed to NXT. So I don't know if I agree with that point right there. I think that if the Black and Gold brand was still Black and Gold, because I'm trying to think, where did Shayna Baszler come from? The entire Undisputed Era. Samoa Joe. You're right. Shinsuke from New Japan. Samoa Joe was Ring of Honor. Finn Balor was New Japan. So yeah. True. that helps inflate the roster with talent for people that people already know. But I don't think that if you brought in some other talent that wasn't necessarily from ROH or New Japan or TNA or any of these other promotions, Impact, I don't think that the Black and Gold audience would have pushed them away, because they were the epitome of like a very rowdy and into it crowd. Like the NXT crowds was like into it, and it was more intimate because it wasn't as big of an I think where were they at? Full Sail? I can't remember. It wasn't as big as like the arenas that SmackDown and Raw were on. It was more tight knit. Kind of, I don't know if it was as small as what NXT is now, but it was more tight knit. And I don't even think they traveled. I think they just stayed in Florida. I think they just stayed in one area. So if you had that and you could just build up on that momentum and build those stars up, I don't know. I don't know if that would have been a problem. But
talents, Black and Gold really didn't need to continue to do the same thing. I link it back to sports. It's a farm system, and before that farm system had next to no connect with the actual big
Wait,
team.
Jolly said, I think you need a bit of both to make it work. Bring in the veterans to teach the young bloods, and if those veterans do well, push them too. Yeah. Yo, Rocky. Rocky, whatever. To be honest, I never liked Vince. First of all, appreciate you, man. First time chat. Welcome to the stream, man. But the thing about Vince, man, so it depends on which Vince you're talking about. If you're talking about Vince off the screen, I feel you. If you're talking about Vince on screen was such a perfect person to hate. He represented the boss that didn't care about his employees and would manipulate and exploit them to get more and more riches, and he would do whatever he wanted to do. He was a nasty old man. The funny thing is, that's exactly how he was in real life. But it's just, oh man, it's crazy. Vince really did kind of mess some stuff up with NXT. And I felt like he felt like it was a different promotion than what he owned. But it's like, you do realize this is the pipeline to get talent from elsewhere, bring them in, get them used to the WWE way, and then you push them up through the pipeline to the main roster. I just don't understand why he had to change everything all the time.
How are people going to get familiar with these guys if you don't give them a chance? How are they going to learn if they're
that
just
bullcrap with
expected
Karrion
to be
Kross
good
was so
in
stupid.
ring? How are they going to continue to sustain their success? And now there's a connection between the farm system and the big team. When they have Braun Breaker appear a few times on Raw, they give Carmelo Hayes a shot. Tiffany Stratton was working with Becky Lynch, and they're slowly weaving them in. Here's our prospects, and here's a little tease. They're young, they're building up, and soon they'll be on the main roster.
They did that in 2019. Adam Cole, I think this was around Survivor Series time, which was like, that was, to me, that was the way to do it. You saw what worked with Adam Cole and Daniel Bryan. You saw what worked with Roman Reigns and Keith Lee. I'm just like, what are we doing? And then they bring him as, I'm not even gonna talk about Bearcat Lee no more. That still pisses me off.
When they didn't even do that, Vince would get his hands on.
Yeah, he lost to Jeff Hardy, bro.
No idea
what
to do with them. He would just see someone.
Oh my God, bro! Why did we have to see this, man? Why did we have to see this? This was such an L for WWE. Bearcat, why, bro? All we wanted to do was just bask in his glory, man. That's it. Oh my God.
What they're about and repackage.
That was so trash.
Instead is happening in NXT. So it again comes back to things fitting together properly. And those call-ups,
when they changed him to Gunther, I didn't know how that was going to work, because I was just used to Walter.
The two sides have had since that crop with Paige, Big E, the Wyatts, the Shield. That crop of talent was brought up nearly a decade ago.
Man,
they fumbled so many wrestlers in between that time. In the Renaissance Era, the biggest change comes at the top. In 2022, Vince McMahon was forced to step down from his role in creative. Many fans had been beaten into submission at McMahon's philosophy of booking. Oftentimes random, poorly crafted, and nonsensical. He focused very heavily on part-time wrestlers of eras gone by, which sometimes put their health in jeopardy, and he sabotaged the progression of superstars of the future.
Was that Max Caster? Hold up. Wait a second. Hold on. Am I tripping? Or is this Max Caster from AEW?
Very heavily on part-time wrestlers of eras gone by, which sometimes put their health in jeopardy, and he sabotaged the progression.
Is that Max Caster? No way. I don't know if it is or not, but that looks like. Listen.
Progression of superstars.
That might be him. Oh my God, is that Max Caster, bro? Oh my God. I mean, his thing is, scissor me. I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. I feel like we need to figure that out. Wait a second.
Company isn't as big as it is.
Wait a
and
second.
that is responsible for having a vision that no one else did.
Chad, we got to figure that out.
Disconnected
If
with
that's
the
Max
cheesy
Caster,
times,
I'm
disconnected
losing
with the
it.
fan base and would coast by because, well, it was his company. The 2010s are the scapegoat in this video, and they'll continue to be. Under his watch, the company missed out on so many top stars by giving them lukewarm pushes.
Oh,
before they
Aleister
made it
Black is another one. It's a crime that this man on the screen right here was never a WWE champion on the main roster. That is one of the biggest blunders of WWE in the past, I don't know how many years. The fact that this man was never a champion, fam. And then on top of that, they made him the champion in the game as like this sinister heel, which they could have really done in real, you know what?
Obscurity, and they'd essentially be the forgotten toy that was the shining
Neville?
one for all of one episode of Monday Night Raw. With him, sometimes it would feel like you were being force-fed what he wanted to give you, while what you wanted was intentionally dangled.
That was Max Caster? Oh my God. What? Are you serious? You just looked it up and that's Max? Oh my God.
In your face and not giving.
Listen.
Now
Oh
with
my
Triple H,
God.
it's completely changed. He's able to introduce talent slowly and keep them a constant on WWE TV. I made a video called the WWE's New Wave. In it, I discussed how people are finally getting a chance. There's an investment being made in stars who will carry the WWE now and ones that will be there for the foreseeable future.
Hold on. Y'all know we got to look back. Is it anybody here? Because you got to look at security. You got to look at the EMTs. You got to look at anybody that is potentially dressed up as an extra because they may or may not show up on NXT or they may or may not be a future superstar. I've made a video on that before and you just never know. I know Swiss was one. Sheamus was one. LA Knight was one. CM Punk was one at one point, but he was dressed up as an extra. Who else? Adam Page, Hangman Adam Page, Tommaso Ciampa, back when The Undertaker, because he ended up, I think he was somebody's attorney or something like that, and he was talking to Taker. MJF, because he got sunned by Samoa Joe. You just never know. You got to watch.
Stars who will carry the WWE now and ones that will be there for the
Becky Lynch and Strowman were Adam Rose's Rosebuds. Crazy.
Depth. How much depth can you create in your organization? It's about having those guys take over once the big guys are gone and building around that core. Building so you don't have another big dog situation where it's like, oh shoot, our top guy is on the way out. Let's strap a rocket to someone. Instead, here's those talents. Let's let them simmer and slowly they'll come up when the time is right. NXT fits into this plan. Call-ups are working, and wrestlers who are organically over are given the chance to prove why WWE should run with them. It's a huge contrast to before, where molten hot acts would emerge, fans would be cheering their guts out, and they'd immediately be made to look like comedy acts because they didn't fit Vince's vision. It links back.
Why do
to
they
what I
have
talked about
Bianca
earlier.
in that?
You need
That
a
doesn't
connect
even
from
make
upper
any sense to have her
management
in
and
that
talent,
part of the
and
video.
right now, that connect is there. Under Triple H's eye, the company has focused on doing what a television show should do, and that's storytelling. A key difference is instead of it being a 30-minute episode, it's one concurrent story that seems to have logical start and end points. He's also focused on giving fans a great in-ring product, which he was a huge fan of in NXT.
Telling you,
WWE
man.
finds himself in a similar situation to the Ruthless Aggression era, where they had stars of a previous generation plus ones that are slowly building up. And when that happens, you have limitless possibilities. Now, I do want to point out that not everything has been perfect under Triple H. There are some people that give him blind credit without looking at his flaws, and he does have a lot of them, but at least there's structure. Under his watch, the WWE has been...
I mean, the thing is, man, listen, well, for one, if you give Triple H all the credit and don't criticize certain things, That's just bias. But number two, I'll say this for us in the tribe, in our community. When Triple H does things right, we give him credit. When he doesn't, we talk about that and we criticize it. There's been times where several storylines went on too long. Trish Stratus and Becky Lynch went on way too long. Nia Jax and Becky Lynch, that storyline should have happened years ago. Like, there's certain things that Triple H does that we don't just blindly give him credit. Well, I know he's talking about certain people, but I'm speaking up for us. We don't just blindly give him credit, but we do know the difference between when he was head of creative and what happened before he was head of creative. And it's a big difference. Big difference.
Quite strong. Look no further than CM Punk. They were able to repair their relationship with CM Punk.
That was big. That was big. For him and Phil to be able to squash the beef. This is the thing where the difference between AEW and WWE, right? It would have seemed like this was irreparable. This would never happen. Punk would never come back to the WWE. I feel like, and I said this before, this version of Punk is made for WWE. Currently, I think the old Punk probably would have worked better in AEW because he was such a rebel, such a rage against the machine. It was a lot of like, I'm speaking up against the higher ups, but now that he's older, more mature, he's looking for structure. The dude could come in and obviously he can run a program with anybody. He just has the gift of gab. His in-ring ability is not necessarily the best, but honestly, in the capacity of WWE, with a storyline as big as Seth Rollins versus CM Punk, Seth is going to carry that match, and he's going to be the one that's going to do the more athletic moves and make Punk look good. But when it comes to storyline, history, and everything else, Punk has that draw. He has the crowd in his hand. It don't matter how you look at it. The man is a draw no matter what. Collision, I haven't watched Collision since he left, and the real reason we went to Collision was because he was going to be here in our city. But the fact that he was able to reconcile with Triple H and WWE, and Tony Khan allowed so much to happen under his watch to where he lost him and Cody Rhodes, which ultimately, to me, I'm not going to say it killed AEW, but when AEW was trying to do, or what AEW was trying to do and compete with WWE, they lost the leverage that they had in those two people. Because now is pretty much a glorified indie show. It is what it is. I know AEW fans not going to like to hear that, but it is what it is. And the fact that Cody is about to headline WrestleMania twice in 2 years, and Punk was probably headed to headline night one before he got injured and plans changed. You have to be, because I think somebody posted, I want to say it was Devin. Devin posted, I think it was Devin. He had posted that Tony Khan is mad at Jack Perry, but fam, you are the one who fired CM Punk. You can't be mad at Jack Perry. You handled that wrong. You handled that completely wrong. It could have been where you suspended whoever, whatever, for whatever fighting and blah, 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 whatever. Okay, suspension. But you got to put your foot down and start laying down these rules. If the one thing I will say about Vince McMahon, and I know we don't like to give him credit, right? He's obviously a nasty old man, whatever. But when it came to, this is my company, this is my show, and what I say goes, him bringing the hammer down, that kept things in order. Tony allows the inmates to run the asylum, and then the Young Bucks, they can do whatever they want, pretty much. That's the reason why you lost them. You didn't have any balls. You didn't have the backbone to set things in order, and you can't blame Jack Perry for that. You can't.
Who knows? In an alternate universe where Vince is still around and the WWE is not the same, maybe his ego gets in the way and we don't get CM Punk back in the WWE.
And CM Punk is not a locker room cancer. He's proven that.
And with other companies.
Shout out to Mickey James.
Also proven that acts from other companies can come in and be treated as big time.
Telling you, man.
Is the key example. When he came back in 2022, people thought, all right, cool return. But the company proved that they could go out, get free agents, and have them immediately have a sustained impact.
And they lost Jade, man. And they lost Jade. But I figured it was only a matter of time before she ended up in WWE, man. And I'm hoping we're not seeing her on TV. And I'm hoping she has progressed. Because I feel like Jade had the look. She had the persona. She obviously can talk. But the in-ring ability, again, I don't think she came back from or she came from a wrestling background. That's why you need the developmental. That's why I was going to make a video and I never got around to it. I think Jade should have been in NXT. I understand her star power. I think number one, it would have raised some ratings in NXT, but I think two, she would have gotten some on-camera time without it having to be in the midst of a Becky Lynch or a Bianca Belair, a Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair, because I know they did the whole tease with her and Charlotte. I feel like it could have been a little bit easier transition for her on screen. And then it's not a lot of expectation because she's in NXT. But as we know, as of last night, she's going to be on SmackDown. So I don't know in what capacity. I don't know if she's going to be inserted into this whole Damage Control storyline with Naomi, Bianca, and helping Bayley. I don't know. I don't even know if she's going to be a face or a heel yet, but I would have put her on NXT months ago, and she didn't have to wrestle. Because the thing is, too, if you put her up against some of the NXT superstars, if she gets a couple wins in, I mean, it's Jade. It's not going to necessarily bury any of the talent because it's Jade. She's coming with all of the momentum from AEW, so she's already looked at as highly regarded. But if she gets in the ring with like which no, that's a WrestleMania match, her and Bianca. But if she gets into the ring with somebody like a Shayna Baszler or a Bayley or a Becky or a Charlotte, I think that would expose her and her wrestling ability, unless she's just been making all kinds of progress over the past couple months.
Cody's arrival into the WWE laid the foundation for others to.
I ain't gonna lie, Cody opened the door and they just
able to lure free agents
blasted just CM Punk and then Jade Cargil, and ain't no telling who's coming back. Andrade came back.
Is Roman Reigns' heel turn, a heel turn that finally made him the top guy that
they
should have like he was back in 2019 and even early 2020. The turn gave Roman
chat. Sean Spears too. Exactly. But he went to NXT, which I think is a good move. I think that is a great move that he went to NXT. But fam, let's be honest. Roman Reigns turning heel was far too long overdue. If I had to pick a moment to turn Roman heel, I would have turned him heel after he beat The Undertaker.
The autonomy to.
I just said that, Devin. Yo, I just said that. Oh my God. I just said that. Yes, absolutely. That would have been the prime time for him to turn heel. That could have been the beginning, bro. That could have been the beginning, man.
Tell his stories, and by virtue of him being the top heel, everything else just
low blow. Yep, I do remember that.
Star. If he was still a face, realistically, who would your top heel be? Would you have all these crazy moments? Would guys like Jay, Sammy...
Because think about it, man. Think about if... I don't know necessarily if the tribal chief idea was there back then. I'm pretty sure it was a concept because that has to do with their actual culture. But if he would have changed into heel Roman and came up with the tribal chief like moniker or whatever, especially around the time where he beat The Undertaker, and knowing the decline that WWE was going to have over those next couple years, Roman could have, man, if Roman would have been champion throughout those years, I think it would have been a little bit easier to digest than, well, I'm not going to lie. He held it down during the pandemic. We got to give Roman that. They gave us a lot while the shutdown was happening. There was no crowds and we were going through a whole different time period. But I think that Roman turning heel at that time, he should have been done that. He should have been the champ. This is the champion that they wanted, or Vince always wanted Roman to be. And if he would have turned heel around that time and they were building up to it, I would have been cool with that. I would have been absolutely cool with that. But of course they started it during the pandemic. But I think too, around that time was where he shortly after, I don't think it was shortly after that, but it was 2018, 2019, when Roman, he had his leukemia, he came back or whatnot, and he had to relinquish the title. I think it was 2017, 2018, somewhere around there. So I mean, if anything, they could have got a couple years out of Roman out before that happened. But if I'm chronologically thinking, because that was what year was that he beat Taker? 2017. Okay, so that was 2017. Fam, if he would have started this just 3 years before, 3 years before, bro. Oh man. Anyway,
LA Knight continued to get that big time exposure if he wasn't there. Him being what he is has allowed Cody to become the face talent that the company desperately needed. If he was still
the fact we live in a universe where the Undertaker is a YouTuber is nutty.
Cody would even
Hey
be in
man,
that same position.
you gotta adapt.
So by virtue of having that top
Shout out to Taker.
marquee name, that huge draw, everything has
That's a
built
fire picture.
underneath while he's still the main attraction. The WWE era we're in is being called the Renaissance Era, and it makes sense. When you actually look at how well the WWE is functioning, it makes sense as to why things are clicking. A few years ago, it wasn't like this. Everything seems like it's intended with one company in mind. There's not this sense of just waiting for something to fall apart from an on-screen perspective. As fans, you don't feel like, okay, when are they just gonna screw us over? The pay-per-views are fun. Everyone's
That
getting
is
a
true.
chance. The WWE
'Cause
has
I used to feel that way.
clicking with stars of the
Like, all
future
right,
ready to take
it's good
over.
right now, but
WrestleMania
when is it gonna be
back,
trash?
and they understand how to remain in the mainstream. Since 2021, the WWE has adjusted in various different assets, and small and simple tweaks, plus Triple H taking over in creative, has given the company new life for the first time in a long time. Though even the WWE's biggest defender
That was a
can't
crazy
say it's
triple
all
threat match.
perfect, because it's still not. It has gone through a big overhaul though. If you want great in-ring matches, they have it. If you want your soap opera pro wrestling characters, you have those too. If you want tag team wrestling, well, that's slowly being built up. The excitement, the unpredictability, and most importantly,
I
the
still
trust
can't
within
believe they
the
pulled the trigger on that.
WWE and their fans
He debuted at
is
Survivor
back.
Series.
It's finally a well-oiled machine that's in working order, and that working order wasn't something that seemed possible at all a few years ago. Fans were just so hell-bent on crapping on the WWE, and let's be honest, they deserved it. They
Oh my
deserved
God.
every bit of that because they were churning out.
Oh, not the Hell in a
Now
Cell
the company is
2019.
finally
No, 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 man. I know, bro. I know. I want to go back and rewatch this. Matter of fact, that might be one of the things that I do. I might go back and rewatch this and then react to it in real time and just see how bad it was.
To being the sports
Because
entertainment
I know the match got a
In the
bad
comments below,
rap
let me
like
know,
over
is
the
this
years,
best
but I
place
got to
that
go back and
WWE has
rewatch
been
it.
in the past 15 years, what's working for you, what's not.
He said my
what
eyes
changes
hurt.
Still need to be made. This is the fourth of a series that's almost happened on accident. I made a video talking about how garbage the
Bro, that
WWE
was
in
Max
this
Caster.
decade.
Oh my
There's
God.
one talking about the pay-per-views and how they've gone from chore to charm, and then the new wave of talent that the WWE.
All right, he just promoting his other videos. Hey, W video, man. W video.